Small Business Digest. Boy, we have a really interesting guest. Molly Kaiser is with us. Kaiser, did I pronounce it correctly?
You sure did.
Good. My audience is used to me butchering names. But anyway, uh, Molly has an interesting company, and I'm uh, going to let her explain it. But first of all, we're going to ask her about her personal background, then a little bit, then about her company and a website. So, Molly, it's all yours.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I'll kind of do like the speed dating version of my story, but I really started out, I went to art school in college to be a photographer. And really they taught us a lot about how to make the art, what cameras to buy, things like that, but they never ever taught us like how to make a dollar or how to have a business. And so after a few years in college, I was racking up, a lot of student loan debt. And I thought, you know what? I have this camera that I can rent from the school library. I had no money. And I was like, I'm going to go to Craigslist and I'm just going to book some photography clients. And within a few years, that had snowballed into a multiple six-figure a year photography business. And I had a studio and everything. And soon a lot of photographers started asking me, how did I do this? How did I build this studio? And so I started doing some coaching, but I quickly realized, I was already running my studio. I was already trading my time for money. And then I was doing this coaching. And so I was really, really busy. And I just thought there has to be a way that I can help a lot more people without trading my time for money. And also I was like repeating myself with every single coaching client because it's really the same formula. So I found out about online courses online. I just started noticing like Adobe products had like memberships and certain places had courses. And I thought, that's really interesting. I could take everything I'm already telling my coaching clients and put it into an online course and people could pay and then they can learn at their own pace. They can have all the information at their fingertips. And then, I don't have to be repeating myself over and over. And so that's what I decided to do. So after just a few coaching clients, only like maybe three, I started my first online course. And we can get into this a little bit more. My first course was a dud, but every course since then has been amazing. And it's because I switched my technique away from like the traditional launch method. But yeah, I was able, with just one of my courses, we had over 10,000 students, but I believe we've done somewhere between 15 and 20,000 students we've helped, total business owners all around the world. So it's been a fun ride. And I did that course for 6 years. And I had a lot of people in 2020 asking me how they can have their own online course. And so right now, my only focus is helping other people turn their passion into their own profitable online courses.
Hmm. And your website?
Yeah. What do you want to know about my website? Just like how I host it or?
Well, no, just what it is, so our audience can go to it.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's profitablecourses.com.
Okay, so let's go into when you say profitable course, what kind of courses do you do you do, and what if someone comes to you and says, "I want to do a course"? What do you ask them, and what do they have to do?
Sure. Yeah, so I've probably done, I mean, at one point with my past business, we had over 100 different digital products. And I was in a $25,000 a year mastermind. And my mentor was like, because I kept asking him, like, why can't I get past $600,000 a year? Like, why can't I get to $1 million or more per year? And he's like, honestly, it's because your focus is split between like all of these different products. So he was like, it's really best when you're under 1 million a year to focus on just one thing. And so we actually like retired all of those products and went all in on one course. It was a brand new course that kind of consolidated all of the information into one thing. And we went from zero with that course to $2 million a year in just 2 years. So I really believe in the power of at least like for sure starting with one course and then not thinking about a second course until your first course is like consistently selling, because I definitely fell victim to that where I was like, ooh, new things, like I want to create a lot of things because I'm a creator, I'm an artist. But really, not only can it help your business make a lot more money, it really helps your client as well because they're just making really that one big purchase and everything's in there. So for me personally, I find it just as hard to sell, like a 1997 program as like a $40 thing. So for me personally, like that's why I like to go all in one thing. So, and then your other question was, how do people get started with courses? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I'll just kind of run you guys through it. I'll give you guys all the details, but the very first course I ever did, I kind of listened to a lot of the gurus out there talking about that traditional launch method, which if you're not familiar with the traditional launch method, typically what you're doing is you're spending, several months building your course. Okay. Before you ever made $1, you're spending several months building your course. Then you're spending several months building a following, nurturing a following, building an email list, a social following. And then after, 3 to 6 months, you're going to send out a bunch of emails, promotions, different things to this audience and try to sell them into your course. Now, it sounds all great and good and easy. But for me, number one, when I did this method, I spent 6 months building my audience. And then I spent money on like hiring a copywriter, hiring like a web page designer, hiring all these people. And when I went to launch, we didn't end up making that many sales and I ended up losing almost $9,000. And so what I've learned is that launching can be a good technique later on in your business, but it's not the best way to like start your course because it takes so long and it's so risky. Like you don't even know yet if anyone will buy your course, but you're putting all this time and money basically crossing your fingers and being like, oh, I really hope when I launch this, people buy it, right? But that's not really how marketing works. You have to take baby steps and like test your messaging and test certain things and make sure the market resonates with it. And not to mention with your course, you don't want to create a course being like, oh, I think this is what's going to help people. You want to create a course being like, I know this is what they need, right? So I'm going to tell them about the better way to do it. I call this my profitable course kickstart method. So I basically learned this method just from trial and error and not liking the risky launch method. So with the profitable course kickstart method, what you do is you basically come up with your course idea and most importantly, the result your course is going to get people, because people aren't going to buy your course for the modules or the lessons or how high quality your video and audio is. They'll buy it for the result that you're promising them, right? So come up with the name, the curriculum, the result, and the price. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start a Facebook group and you're going to name it something that's going to attract your ideal customer. And you're only going to need 100 to 200 people in that Facebook group. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put in a few posts, a few nurture posts. This is over the course of just a week or two. And then you're just going to simply put what I call an interest post in the group. And you're going to say, hey, is anyone interested in, starting their own podcast? Let me know. Type your favorite emoji in the comments below. And then a bunch of people will put their emoji and then you can comment them back being like, hey, check your DMs. And you're just going to DM them and start a conversation and just talk with them and be like, hey, why were you interested in learning about podcasting? And maybe they'll say like, well, I really want to have better brand awareness or grow my following or whatever that is. And you can be like, okay, cool. Like I'm hosting this course live starting on this date. It's this much money. I really think you'd be a great fit. Are you interested? And you can just simply have conversations with these people. And with this method, the most recent time I did this was just a year or so ago. And I did just under $17,000 in profit in less than 30 days. So, and I built my group in just 3 days. So it's like a really quick way to like literally kickstart your course. And then what you're going to do is everyone who buys, you're going to put them into a separate Facebook group. And you're going to like teach the course in that group. It can be live or pre-recorded, but I prefer live because I just like things easy. Basically, you would just like, if your course is 5 modules, you would just say, hey, I'm going to hop in every week for 5 weeks and teach 1 module. And the cool thing is, not only do you get money up front, not only do you get to interact more with your students, but they're going to be asking questions and interacting and telling you like, oh, I wish there was this download, or I wish this video covered this. And so you're going to end up actually creating a way better course because these students are giving you live feedback. And you got paid up front. And then what you get to do is take all those recordings and host them in a course host software. And now you have your automated course. You've been paid up front. You have testimonials. You have built a really great course. So I like to start with the Kickstart method and then move into other methods from there.
Hmm, it's fascinating. Well, when you say what kind of courses do you do, and do you have to be an expert, or I'll stop there. What do you mean? Who, what kind of content do you provide, or your people provide?
Yeah. So it's really anyone who wants to create any kind of course. So we have hundreds of students all around the world that have done courses on gardening, different fitness, nutrition, like how to be an at-home chef, how to journal for more self-confidence, like how to balance like being a mom and working. You can really take any passion that you have or anything you can help people with and package it into a course. So for me, when I first started thinking of my course idea, it should have been obvious to me because I was already coaching photographers. So it should have been really obvious, but I was like, I don't know, maybe I should do a different course. So all I did was I thought about like, what are the things that I've done in my past? What are the things I've achieved? What are the things I'm passionate about? So for example, one thing was when I was a lot younger, I had a really successful babysitting business. And so I was like, oh, maybe I could create a course on, for parents on how to help their kids grow like a babysitting business. Or I was really into like low carb eating for a while. And so I was like, oh, maybe I could like have a course on that. And then ultimately, I ended up going with the photography course and then my course Profitable Courses. But my point is like, you really want to think about, what are you passionate about? What have you helped other people with? What do people ask you questions about? Because your course can be on anything as long as it gets someone a result they're willing to pay for. So you just need to, and then that also ties into like pricing your course. I always tell my students to price somewhere between $297 and $1997 based on the result they're getting someone. So if your course is going to help them make $2,000 in the first 30 days, then you can probably price your course at $2,000, but if it's more of like a journaling for confidence kind of thing, then I would price it on the lower end and then raise it over time if you see that people are responding well to that. So yeah, to answer your question, people can have courses on anything at all, any topic.
Hmm. You said $2.97 or
200, yeah, $297. Yep, thanks for that.
Oh, no, no. So people will actually pay that much for, say, a 5 or a 6 module course.
I mean, it's really less about how many modules it is and more about the result. But yes.
Really?
Oh,
This is
absolutely.
fascinating.
Because let me ask you this. What's a topic you want to learn about lately?
How to get your book published.
Okay, cool. So would you rather learn how to get your book published in 20 modules or 3 modules?
Well, 3 modules, obviously.
Yeah. So that's just a great example because we always want to learn things as fast and simple as possible. And so I think a lot of mistakes we make as beginners with courses is like, oh, if I have more content, then it's worth more money. But really, it's actually worth more money if you can get them the result you're promising as quickly and short as possible.
Hmm. Well, very. I'm just fascinated that you can generate that much interest relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And the way, in fact, that what you're saying is you put out some sort of a Facebook, how to find an agent, to use a book agent, for instance, and you get people to come in. Am I hearing you right? You get people to come in and uh, said you create like an interest group, and then from
Mm-hmm.
there you create a course. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think I'm going to use that book publishing as an example here because I think that's a great one. But let's say you want to have a course on how to publish a book in 30 days. I don't know, whatever result you can actually promise, right? It's
Mhm.
not like you make it up. You have to actually be able to deliver that result. But then I would go ahead and create a group that's called like, get your book published in, 30 days or whatever that is, because like people like you, for example, you would see that group and be like, oh, that's cool. Like I do want to get my book published, And then in the group, there's going to be some helpful content. like maybe links to blogs or YouTubes or just written helpful content. And then there's going to be people having conversations around, they could have some question starters like, oh, what kind of book do you want to publish? Like, what's the book you're thinking of? Stuff like that. And then they can also have posts that say, hey, I'm looking for, 3 people who want to work with me directly to publish their book in the next 30 days. And then you and some others would probably be like, oh, that's me, And then this person can message you and say like, hey, I'm going to be hosting this thing. I'm going to be working closely with you guys. It starts on this date. And my goal is that it's going to be within 30 days. And by the end of the 30 days, you're going to have your book published. And, I don't know, it's $9.97 or whatever, $4.97. And then you're probably like, oh, that's what I want. I want that result. I want to work with you. Because it's also a benefit the first time you sell your course. You can say, I'm going to work close with you, and that helps you get your first sales. But then you don't have to do it like live like that ever again. You can host it in course software. And then I do have other ways I can talk about how to sell it without you trading your time for money, if that makes sense.
You say you talk about course software. Is there such a software available? Is it yours or is it somebody else's?
Yeah, no, I don't have my own software. That'd be cool though. But I use a software called Kajabi. It's Kajabi. I've tried all the different softwares out there. So feel free to try whatever you want. But fair warning, this one's the one I found to be the best simply because it does everything all in one. So like it hosts your courses. But it also does all your email marketing, all your funnels, all your checkout pages. Like literally, we don't use any other software other than like Zoom. So I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I'm like, hate to see people wasting money on other softwares because what happens a lot is they'll go and buy just a course host software over here, then an email marketing software over here, and then and then they have to connect them all. And then it becomes way more expensive and confusing. But yeah, so once you do your Kickstart, you would take the recordings and host them in the course software. And then I just recommend you do the Kickstart method once. That's it. Just to get those first sales, get those first testimonials, and build your course. You're getting paid to build your course, which is super cool. Then what I recommend is once you have your course in the course hosting software and you've made your checkout page, which is really easy, then I recommend starting to sell with webinars. And by the way, in my course, we're teaching you how to build your following all along the way. So like we teach you how to get that first following in a Facebook group, but then we teach you to pick one long form. So it could be YouTube, it can be podcasting, it can be Instagram and TikTok, it can be whatever you want, but we ask you to just like focus on one thing first. And so you're growing that all the while along with an email list. And then once you're done with your Kickstart, then we recommend you start doing weekly webinars. So you basically create your webinar presentation, which essentially is like 30 minutes of value, 30 minutes of a pitch for your course, essentially. And I always tell people at the beginning of the webinar, like, hey, I'm going to teach you this, this, and this. It's going to be a lot of value, but I'm also going to be pitching my course at the end, just heads up. So that people aren't surprised. And then I recommend doing that every single week until your webinar is consistently converting. And then you can put it and automate it with a funnel. And so like right now where we're at with our course is basically my main focus is just traffic, so being a guest on podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And I didn't start with all those things, but I layered them over time. And our whole thing is just sending traffic to our automated webinar funnel. Because we know, it converts at 5%. So all the traffic we send there, we know we're going to get X amount of sales each month. And if you're not familiar with what an auto webinar funnel is and you want to see how it works, you can check ours out. It's profitablecourses.com/class. It does teach you about courses and everything as well. So, but yeah, that's kind of so you do the Kickstart, then you do the live webinar weekly until it converts, and then you automate it. And then really your only job basically is just traffic at that point. So it's pretty fun.
It sounds, it sounds easy, but I know it's harder than that.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's easy, but I think anything that has the potential to make a lot of money isn't going to be like easy.
I'm sitting here. I'm sitting on a database of 1 million small business leaders, presidents of companies that follow us. you know, I assume that's a market that would be good for courses. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Like I said, anyone can create a course. Our ideal client, though, is small business owners. And the reason that's our ideal client is because that's my story.
Mhm.
I went from being a small business owner to having then a course part-time to then going into courses full-time. And so I just really understand how profitable it is to add a course to your business. Like when we added a course to my photography business, we were having 80% profit margins. Like our accountant told me out of all of her clients, we had the highest profit margins. And it's because with digital products, there's no cost, there's no stocking, there's no warehouse, like there's none of that. And so especially in 2022, when there's all these like shipping issues and it's just think it's a really great way for a business owner to have like some kind of extra digital online asset.
Mm.
So yeah, that's amazing. Is it 1 million people on an email list?
Yes, on my email,
Wow, that's incredible.
but we're not monetizing it. So
Okay.
that's so we should talk offline on that.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, but anyway, your website again for our audience?
Yeah, sure. It's profitablecourses.com.
Okay, we have just a couple of minutes left before they cut us off. What what would you like to leave our audience with?
Ooh, good question. Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to leave them with just more of kind of what I was saying before about how like it really changed my life when I added a course to my business because although I loved being a photographer and I was a professional photographer for 16 years, like I knew that I wouldn't be able to do like a physically manual labor job forever, have like a 30-pound camera around my neck and climbing ladders and driving all over the state. And also, I wasn't able to move anywhere or really go on vacation, or I would lose money. I'm sure a lot of small business owners can relate with that. And so once I was able to add an online course to my business, it's like we've moved to Austin, Texas, we've moved to New Mexico, like we travel all the time. I know everyone, it's like a cliche and everyone's like, oh, you make sales in your sleep, but it's like, I mean, you make sales all the time, no matter what you're doing and no matter where you are. So for me, it's just like the ultimate freedom. And I think a lot of times when you have like a brick and mortar or a small business where you're trading your time for money, it kind of chains you to like not actually have as much freedom. So yeah, I would just like to leave your listeners with the possibility to get them thinking about potentially having an online course. And again, you don't have to go full time with it. You can add it on, or you can go full time with it like I have. But it's definitely really, really worth it. We've done over $8 million in online course sales over the years. So, I mean, the earning potential on it is also pretty incredible. So,
Well, on that note, Molly Kaiser, we say thank you so much for me a very illuminating time.